Hello everyone, this is Advocate Nidhi Singh, founder NRI Legal Services, wishing you a sparkling, bright, fresh and revitalizing start of the year 2022. Uh, these days, the global situation being what it is, we are again in the midst of a third wave of the pandemic, and there is hardly any area across the globe which is not touched. And likewise, people are not able to travel, people are not able to come back to India, and we, as an organization representing the Indian diaspora overseas, are getting a spate of inquiries where people are really, really helpless. Their properties are here, they're languishing, they're not able to come and look after them, they're not able to come and renew the tenant leases, or if there's an encroachment, they're not able to pursue their litigations. So it is very, very chaotic, and I thought I should try and address some of these issues that I can, which I will be taking up in a series. But today we are going to be talking about those people who are writing to us about their tenanted property, their lease deeds, their rent agreements, which need to be renewed, or they need to actually rent out their properties or take control of those properties. So I would want to give some very quick tips in the midst of this pandemic and without really traveling. The good news is that you can actually proactively manage all of these properties from where you are, and here is how you need to do it. If you are planning to lease out your property, the landlords, that is, if you're a landlord wanting to lease out your property, here are the few things that you must keep in mind. Number one, you should identify your tenant through a trustworthy source. Common sense tips are: is he well employed? Is he a family man? Or is his history or his persona or the way he is pretty amiable, and he seems like a decent person? That's a very big tick. Try and find out more about your tenant. And once you identify your tenant, either it's through your power of attorney, a close friend, or you yourself can online have a video chat or a meet with him. The world operates online now. I don't think that should be a problem at all. And once you do it, you should have an oral chat about the rent. How is he going to deposit? What is the security deposit? Very clearly, you should have a very clear understanding verbally. And then the same should be enshrined in a watertight rent lease or a watertight lease deed or a rent agreement drawn up by a proper lawyer. There are enough of these boilerplate agreements, then these agents they keep with themselves. I would ideally do not want you to use them. Always try and involve a lawyer of some sorts who would draw them up custom made to your requirements. So have all the understanding in a rent agreement in which everything is completely clearly outlined. So why the rent deed is very important. The most important things that you must know in a rent deed are the mode of payment, how much is the rent, how much is the security deposit, the term of that lease deed, what are the do's and the don'ts, what is the exit clause once the lease comes to an end. All of this should be clearly mentioned in the lease deed, which is the governing document between you and your tenant here in India. So be very careful when you do that. Once all of that is done, two things I would highly recommend all people who are looking to lease their properties in India. The first is try and keep the utilities bills, the water bill, the electricity bill in your name. A lot of times when the tenancy has been for a longer duration, somehow the electricity bills and the other water bills and all, they somehow come on the tenant's name sometimes. That is not at all advised, and it should be avoided. Always the utility, this shows clear possession and ownership in your name. So utilities, number one, should be in your name. And number two, which is very important also, and I always advise clients who have to rent out their residential properties, you should have some portion of the property with you. it could be just a garage, it could be a servant quarter where you have access. So when you're giving out a whole house, try and portion off one room, a small little portion of that house that you lock up is in your possession. That is for you to get access to the property in the case the tenant goes rogue. You should, and that will always help you. In India, we do get a lot of cases like that. Unlike the West, where things are pretty streamlined, we do still have problems, and a lot of disputes between the landlords and tenants keep arising once the lease date is formalized and the tenant has actually taken possession. The other thing I would like to advise landlords are that do watch your tenant if he is giving everything on time, his attitude towards the property, is he paying the rent on time. Do not ignore the early signs. The early signs is the behavior of the tenant. And if you feel that the tenant is not behaving properly, you should take remedial actions immediately and not wait for the situation to go out of hand, which it often does, and then you have no other resort but to go to the court. These are all tips to avoid going with a dispute to the court. But in any case, in case there is a situation where you have to go to the court, please do not be scared of it. It is absolutely formal. The rent laws are very well defined in India, and you can actually fight the case and get your property completely, evicted by the tenants also, in case there is. But do take these basic common sense tips and keep them in mind when you're leasing out the property. Thank you.